How's it, Marco? Very well played.
Thank you.
Before the series, there was a lot of talk about the all-rounder spot for the World Cup, and it seems to have been going on for a couple of seasons. Going into the series, how are you feeling? Obviously, with that responsibility, and you must be really pleased with the marker you've kind of put a peg in the ground for that spot.
Yeah, obviously just working hard behind the scenes. Yeah, it's just, yeah, for me personally, it was just all about how can I contribute with the bat for the team. I didn't or still don't have any goals in particular. It's just for me, how can I contribute to the team at that point in time, depending on the situation. And then obviously with the ball, that's where my main focus is, to take wickets for the team. And yeah, just basically wherever I'm needed, just to help where I can, and obviously bring my part and do my part in the team. So yeah.
Stu?
Of the two facets in this series, which have you been happier with, your batting or your bowling?
My batting. I enjoy batting a lot more than bowling, if I'm being completely honest, just because I like batting a lot. So in the nets, when I'm working on my batting, I actually enjoy it a lot more. I can't tell you why. I just enjoy batting. Whether I actually spend time in the middle, that's a different conversation. But yeah, I just enjoy batting. So whenever I get a chance to fulfill a role or to contribute with the bat, I try my utmost best. And then obviously with the ball, every time I go out there, I'm sort of expected to take wickets, which is also perfectly fine, because that's my primary role, so to speak. Yeah, so mainly I try and focus on my bowling, and then whenever I get a chance with the bat, to make sure that I contribute where I can.
Cool, we're going to go Zahir, then back to Ken.
Marco, just on the bowling and the fact you say you enjoy the batting more often, it seemed that at the beginning of the series that you were almost ambling into the crease and looking for a bit of swing up front. But as the got up beyond the high fall, that's when you really started running in and hitting the deck and trying to bounce people out. Is that a fair assessment? Is that how?
Yeah, yeah. So I was working a lot on trying to swing the ball, and I think that's where I've got my downfall. I was focusing too much on something that's not always going to be there. Where constant as a bowler, you can always constantly try and hit the wicket hard, and then through that get some purchase through the wicket or in the wicket. So after Bloom, I realized that I was actually searching for things that weren't really there, and then just coming up here, I focus a lot more actually hitting the wicket with a bit more energy, and then whatever happens from there is out of my control. If it nips, if it swings, I can try things with my hands or the seam position as much as I want, but if there's no swing, there's no swing. There's only certain people that are highly skilled that can get swing all over the world, which is a very rare skill. So for me, the focus was just to get the most out of the wicket which we were playing on. So Bloom generally is a quite, not flat wicket, but as a bowler, there's not always a lot of pace and bounce. It's normally skiddy, nice, friendlier batting conditions, where up here at Supersport Park, Wanderers, there's a bit more for the bowlers, especially with my height, there's a bit more bounce. So I just try to utilize that as best as possible.
Marco, just to follow up on that, you've obviously played IPL and the grounds are big, but I mean, what's it like running in at the Wanderers with 35,000 people and you bumping people and getting them caught on the boundary and hitting people in the head? And
It's unbelievable. It's just the crowd, the sound of the crowd. Every time I hear it, whether I'm bowling or not, it just psychs you up as a player in general. So when you running in and you're getting wickets and you hear the crowd, that sort of gives you a little bit of extra energy, I would say. And then ideally, when you're bowling well, you try and use that energy into your bowling. And I guess sometimes as a bowler you get carried away and then you think, okay, I'm just going to go 6 bounces in a row here, and then as you saw the one over, I got hit twice in a row for 6. So some you win, some you lose, but it's about how you go about it, and then executing a certain plan, and also watching the batter, what he's trying to do, and where his strengths is, and trying to outthink him in a way. So yeah.
Thanks, Ken.
Marco, enjoying batting aside, it's obvious that you put in a lot of hard work on your batting. Can you tell us just where you feel you've improved most in terms of your batting?
I think I improved a lot in terms of my options, because when I started here, and I'm still very young in the team, I felt like I only had certain shots that were like my go-to shots, if it makes sense. So I would normally get myself into a situation where, let's say for example, a spinner is bowling, then my go-to shot was a slog sweep over cow, for example, where now I feel that I can play more from the back foot, or I can maneuver the crease a bit more, so I have a bit more options if I feel stuck, and that's quite a good feeling for myself. So if I see, listen, I can't just hit every ball for 6, or I can't just plant my front foot and go over cow, I can actually get off strike. I can actually get the other batter on strike, and help the team in that way in terms of strike rotation and all those kind of stuff. So that's definitely one area where I think I've improved a bit.
We are struggling with online, so we are just going to take questions from the floor, but
Marco, throughout the series, you've been given the opportunity to actually contribute to the team, both with bat and ball. And you've actually done well, and congratulations today, splendid performance. What does that do for you personally within that setup, knowing that now you significantly have that role in the team, and also for your confidence as a player within that group of players as well? How can you say that has now pushed you to become better?
Yeah, so generally, or for me personally, it feels like there's a bit more pressure, because people expect you to, which is normal, to sort of contribute with the bat and ball, doesn't matter in what way, form or shape or size or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, putting the pressure aside, it's actually an exciting feeling for me, because I know I have the ability, I know I can do it. It's just about handling the pressure and actually going out there and thinking clearly to what I want to do. Yeah, so today was just one of those days where luckily everything worked out nicely.
Marco, over the course of the series, I know Eric has been around as bowling coach, will be at the World Cup. What were the areas he was looking for you to focus on with the ball, and was it with the World Cup in mind? I mean, did you try things in the series that you want to utilize when you go to India, and what are those things?
Yeah, Eric is very specific in terms of where we want to hit, in terms of the length and in terms of the stumps and the lines and stuff. So he's very specific on that, which is a very good thing, because me, for myself, I was just, for example, in warm-ups, I was just warming up for the sake of warming up to get my body loose, where now it's actually focusing on a target, and while you're warming up, you subconsciously working on something, which is, for example, in my case, is hitting off stump or middle stump. So you'll see, like today, obviously there's stumps at warm-up, so then I'll try and hit off stump every single ball, not hitting it every time, but that's the focus. And then through that, you're subconsciously building your brain, or building your action in a way to get the ball where you want it to go. So when the pressure is on, subconsciously it just happens. So there's a bit more structure, or a bit more, we are a bit more specific into where we want to hit, and what target we want to hit, and what lengths we want to bowl. So it's not a case of we just warming up. There's a point behind warming up as well, which is a very, very good thing.
And were there things like in game situations during the series and I understand the priority was win those matches, win the series, but with what's to come in India, where conditions might be a little different from certainly what you find here, that you were trying to apply, and
yeah,
what are those things that Eric has put in, has been wanting from you guys with the World Cup in focus?
Yeah, so every every stadium where we played at. So Bloom, for example, we assess the conditions. So in India, obviously conditions are going to change. So therefore the plans are going to change as well. So in Bloom, for example, we try to hit the stumps as much as possible because the ball is sort of just skidding on. So we try to make the batters make a play, which they did, and they played very well. Where here also there's a bit more bounce, a bit more pace. So we try to use the conditions to our favour, which is what every team tries to do. So we said, okay, for Supersport Park and for Wonders, for example, we might bowl the one or two extra bounces, for example, because there's a bit more bounce, a bit more pace, just to make the batter think, where if you just hit a hard length, it's actually quite easy to bat because you can line a bowler up and you can sort of play with the bowler's fields and all that kind of stuff. So just to make the batter think differently and to make him think what ball's coming next.
Oh, we're going to take the last two questions. Sorry, let's go over the time. We'll start with that day. Because we are back online. We do have one question from online as well. So just in the interest of time, we're going to wrap up.
Thank you. Marco, you speak about the different conditions, being offered in the different venues in the series. But interestingly, the team that bats first in the last 4 ODIs, or in 4 of the 5 ODIs, has actually won the match at 4 different venues. Do you think that's just a coincidence, or there's something in that?
Yeah, so it also depends on how the team plays. So Australia, they play a very attacking brand of cricket, which is very difficult as a bowler, because as you saw the first 10, we as bowlers we got smashed all over the place, which is quite difficult to see and to understand. But that's the way they played. So we just try to not manage that, but we try to form a plan, like not just to get hit. We try to get wickets while they're hitting us, if it makes sense. So even though they're going for 10s and over, if we get 2 or 3 wickets in the first 10, the game is sort of evened out. So then it's so like today, for example, they had to chase 3 something, I'm not sure. So then after, normally, like they were 100 and something for, I don't know how many wickets, 2 or 3, I'm not sure. So the game is sort of in the balance. So then it's not like they're getting ahead of us or we're falling behind. Where the first game in Bloom, they were 100 and something for, I don't even know, they smashed us. So they were very far ahead, and we struggled to pull the game back. So even though the conditions were different, it's how you play on the day, and then also just making it work, whatever plans we had. Because at the end of the day, runs is important when you're batting, and wickets is important when you're bowling. So the more wickets you get, generally the less runs teams score, and also with wickets in hand, you can score a lot of runs. So yeah, that's sort of how we try to do it.
Marco, we know that there was a little photo shoot yesterday with the World Cup kit on.
Yeah.
Is it starting to, feel real now that this is really upon us, a World Cup? And can you also talk a little bit about what going to a 50-over World Cup means for you? It's been a whirlwind couple of years for you into professional cricket. Is it really feeling real now? And what does it mean to Marco Jansen?
Yeah, it's definitely getting real. There's still a week or so before we fly. I think it will hit everyone once we get on the plane, because that's normally, for me personally, how it works. So like beforehand, I'm very like chilled, and I know it's coming, but once I get there, then it's like it hits me in the face full on, and then it starts to kick in. And then obviously it's my first ODI World Cup, and I'm very excited, but also very nervous, because I don't know what to expect, even though I've played there in India a couple of times. Yeah, it's just going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Marco, obviously you mentioned the pace and bounce here, which is right up your street. You've played a bit in India. How often do you think conditions are going to get close to what you had here?
I hope we get conditions like this, yeah. But yeah, it's Yeah, it's like I said, it's all about adapting to the conditions. So, because not the same plan is never going to work every time. It depends what the conditions are. Because sometimes the pitch, like for example, in Hyderabad, I felt there was a bit of swing and there was a bit of bounce, which was nice. And then once we get to Delhi or Chennai, it's quite dry and it's like stoppy, and so it's always like when you travel to different places, your game is going to change in a certain way. But for me, it's all about keeping my mindset the same. So when I'm bowling, I try and get a wicket. So in Chennai, for example, I might get a wicket catching cover, where in Hyderabad, for example, I might bounce someone out. It's just all about finding a way and then adapting to the conditions. Yeah, it's not. I wish I played always on a fast and bouncy wicket, but you're never always gonna get that. So, yeah, so it's just all about adapting to the conditions.
Cool. We've got one very last one from Proteas online, just asking how are you handling the responsibility of being the only genuine all-rounder in the squad?
Yeah, it's tough, but it's nice at the same time. Yeah, it's just like I said, it's a bit more responsibility, but for me, it's just important to go out there and enjoy it. Because luckily I enjoy batting. Otherwise, it would have been a tough job for me. Yeah, like I said, when I'm batting, I just try and enjoy it and try and express myself. And then when I'm bowling, it's more of like I have a real job to do, and yeah, I just go out and try and express myself.
Great. Thank you very much. Coach is waiting for us outside.
Just thanks.